chosen one. Every time you have sat alone in your car, gripping the steering wheel and swallowing your tears because you had to be the strong one for everyone else, a camera in the spiritual realm was rolling. You thought your silent suffering was ignored, but heaven made a documentary of your unseen battles, and God watches it every morning. But right now, as your season of reward is about to premiere, you feel a sickening panic. Your mind feels like it is walking through wet cement. You stare at the wall, terrified that your spiritual intuition has gone dead and that your peak days are behind you. Listen to me carefully. Your gifts did not expire. Heaven bypassed every algorithm to bring you to this exact timestamp to tell you that your brain fog is not burnout. It is a calculated, engineered frequency designed by the Matrix to jam your divine antenna right before the veil lifts. Let your inner spirit anchor to this truth. No physical movement is required, just your absolute mental focus. Subscribe to align your vibration with the collective of awakened souls. Like this video if your heavy heart feels seen today, and comment, "The static breaks now," to mentally shatter the interference. Because what neuroscientists just proved about your brain's dormant frequency is exactly what the ancient prophets used to clear the fog and hear the voice of God. Do not click away, because by the end of this message, you will possess the exact framework to permanently dismantle this engineered brain fog. I am going to reveal the biological weapon being used against your mind, the specific acoustic key that bypasses the matrix entirely, and the daily protocol to guard your frequency so you never lose your divine connection again. If you leave now, you will continue fighting a spiritual war with a jammed radar. Stay with me, because your deliverance is hidden in the science of sound. Let us talk about what happened exactly 3 nights ago. Heaven tried to send you a life-changing blueprint. A specific download regarding your next move, your finances, and the people you need to quietly cut off. The transmission was sent directly to your spirit, but it bounced back. It bounced back because the receptor in your mind was buried under layers of artificial static. Feel that pressure right now, the tension sitting heavy right behind your eyes. That tight band wrapping around your forehead when you try to pray or visualize your future. You have been calling it exhaustion. You have been drinking coffee, trying to sleep more, and blaming yourself for being lazy or unmotivated. But extra sleep does not fix a jammed frequency. You are trying to solve a spiritual broadcasting issue with physical rest, and it will never work. The enemy understands exactly how the Creator communicates. Look at the ancient text of 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 and 12. When the prophet Elijah was standing on the mountain waiting for God, there was a great and powerful wind that tore the mountains apart. Then an earthquake, then a fire. But God was not in the wind, not in the earthquake, and not in the fire. After the fire came a gentle whisper, a still, small voice. Most people read that and think it is just a nice poetic story about finding inner peace. But if you look at the historical and spiritual context, this is a masterclass in frequency. Elijah was fleeing for his life from Queen Jezebel. He was in sheer survival mode. His mind was racing with anxiety, fear, and deep depression. He was operating in a state of high-stress brainwaves. God was showing Elijah that divine instruction absolutely cannot penetrate the chaotic, loud, high-frequency panic of the wind and the fire. The Creator only transmits on the frequency of the gentle whisper, the still, small voice. Now look at your life right now. The matrix has surrounded you with the wind, the earthquake, and the fire. Endless notifications, financial panic, toxic conversations, and a society explicitly designed to keep you in a constant state of low-level dread. They are keeping your brain operating in a high-stress survival frequency. And as long as you are trapped in that fast, chaotic frequency, you cannot hear the gentle whisper. You are completely deaf to the divine download Heaven tried to send you 3 nights ago. But before I tell you what that blocked message actually contained, you must understand exactly how they are trapping you in this chaotic frequency, because you have been fighting the wrong war. You think you are under a spiritual attack. You think monitoring spirits are whispering in your ear to make you confused and tired. But the truth is far more sinister, and it is happening right inside the physical chemistry of your own brain. The war is not happening in the spirit realm right now. It is happening in your nervous system. And the weapon they are using is something you are exposed to every single day. That daily weapon is what creates the ultimate illusion. You have been told over and over again that you are in the middle of a fierce, unrelenting spiritual battle, and everything in your daily life seems to confirm it. You sit on the edge of your bed, staring blankly at the floor, feeling a weight on your chest that is so heavy it makes it hard to pull in a full breath. You hold your phone in your hand, your thumb mindlessly swiping up, up, up on a glowing screen. Your eyes completely glazed over, breathing shallow, desperately trying to numb your mind and escape the reality of your current situation. You feel drained of all motivation. You feel like a massive, invisible iron wall has been placed between you and your true destiny. Every time you try to move forward, a door slams shut in your face. Every time you try to focus on your higher calling, a sudden wave of extreme, unnatural exhaustion hits you out of nowhere and forces you back to sleep. You have been taught by religion to call this a spiritual attack. You firmly believe that monitoring spirits are watching your every move. You think that unseen demonic forces have been dispatched from the kingdom of darkness specifically to sabotage your finances, to ruin your relationships, and to steal your peace of mind. You lay awake at 2 a.m, binding demons, rebuking generational curses, and pleading for divine intervention with tears in your eyes. You are absolutely convinced that your special anointing has made you a primary target for witchcraft, hexes, and dark energy. And let me be clear, you are not crazy for thinking this. The massive resistance you feel is absolutely real. The opposition is undeniable. The crushing exhaustion is physical. You are completely convinced that the enemy is working overtime in the spirit realm to destroy your life because of the massive calling placed on your soul. And you would be completely right about the enemy wanting to destroy you. But here is the truth that is going to change everything about how you fight this battle. I want you to perform a mental action right now. I want you to mentally gather every single invisible demon, every hex, and every dark spiritual attack you think you are fighting right now. Picture them in your mind as a dark storm cloud surrounding your body. Now, using just your mental focus, I want you to completely dissolve that cloud. Watch it vanish into thin air. Sweep it away from your mind, because you have been fighting the wrong enemy. The enemy does not need to dispatch a single demon to stop your destiny. They do not need to use witchcraft. They do not need to cast a hex. That is the great deception. While you are busy fighting invisible ghosts in the spirit realm, the real attack is happening right inside the physical chemistry of your own brain. They are not using dark magic. They are using biology. They are using the notification that just pinged on your phone while you were trying to pray. They are using the looming deadline at your job. They are using the anxiety of the electric bill, the toxic conversations around you, and the endless, terrifying cycle of the daily news. They are using the exact modern society you live in as a highly engineered biological weapon against your nervous system. Every time your phone buzzes, every time you panic about money, your brain is flooded with a chemical called cortisol. And when your biological system is constantly flooded with stress hormones, it physically locks your neurological state into a very specific, high-stress survival frequency. Scientists call this state beta waves. Beta waves are fast, chaotic, and frantic. They were designed by the Creator for short bursts of extreme physical danger, like running from a predator in the wild. But the Matrix has designed a society that keeps you trapped in beta waves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your brain is stuck in a permanent, unending state of fight or flight. And here is the terrifying reality. When your brain is chemically locked in beta, the creative, intuitive, and spiritual centers of your mind literally shut down. They power off entirely. That heavy brain fog you feel, that total lack of spiritual clarity, that is not a demonic curse. That is the physical symptom of your brain being chemically forced into a lower vibrational frequency. This is biological warfare against your divine connection. The ancient masters understood this biological secret thousands of years before modern science even had a name for it. Look at the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 3. Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." For generations, preachers have told you this means you just need to be innocent, naive, or deeply trusting. But if you look at the original Greek word used for children, paidion, and combine it with what we now know about the human brain, a massive revelation appears. This is not a moral lesson about being a good person. It is a neurological blueprint. You see, neuroscience proves that little children do not operate in beta waves. Up until the age of 7, a child's brain operates almost entirely in a completely different frequency. A slower, deeply connected, highly intuitive frequency. They live in a state of pure creative access. They are not stressed about tomorrow. Their brains are not corrupted by the survival static of the modern world. When the ancient text says you must become like little children to enter the kingdom of heaven, it is telling you that heaven is not just a destination you travel to after you die. Heaven is a dimension of access right now, and you absolutely cannot access that divine dimension while your brain is locked in the chaotic, high-stress beta frequency of the matrix. You have to change your brain waves back to the original, pure state you had as a child. But why you? Out of all the millions of people walking around mindlessly in this world, perfectly content to live in the matrix, why do they use this specific beta wave weapon so aggressively against the chosen ones? Why do they work so incredibly hard to keep your specific brain drowning in stress, scroll fatigue, and exhaustion? It is because of what is waiting for you on the other side of that fog. You think brain fog just makes you tired? No. It is locking away a vibrational state that space scientists just decoded. A frequency that if you access, the matrix loses control over you forever. That dormant frequency is the exact dimension where the Creator speaks. And this brings us back to what happened exactly 3 nights ago. I told you that heaven tried to send you a massive download, a specific blueprint for your financial freedom, your spiritual clarity, and your ultimate purpose. That download was sent on the divine frequency of pure intuition. It was a transmission of theta and gamma brain waves, but it never reached your conscious mind because it slammed violently into what I call the beta wall. The Matrix has constructed a massive, invisible wall of chaotic noise around your mind. I want you to mentally tune into the background noise of your life right now. Even when you are sitting alone in silence, there is a loud, aggressive voice in your head that does not belong to you. It is the voice of the Matrix screaming, "You are falling behind. Everyone else is succeeding while you are stuck. You do not have enough money. You are running out of time. You are failing your mission." That relentless internal shouting is the beta wall. It is an artificial frequency designed to keep you in a state of permanent spiritual paralysis. Every time your divine intuition tries to whisper a brilliant idea, a solution to your debt, or a revelation about your calling, it bounces right off that wall of panic and stress. This is not a new war. The ancient spiritual masters knew all about the beta wall, even if they used different words for it. Look at the ancient text of Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." For centuries, religious leaders have told you this just means you should sit quietly and pray. But if you look at the grand pattern of Scripture, a massive biological and spiritual secret is revealed. Look at the pattern of every major prophet and chosen leader. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before he could lead his people. Elijah retreated to a secluded cave. Jesus was led into the barren wilderness for 40 days. The Apostle Paul disappeared into the deserts of Arabia for 3 years after his awakening. Why did they all have to go to the desert? They were not just taking a break from society. They were performing a radical, necessary neurological detox. The ancient Egyptian and Roman empires had their own versions of the matrix, their own systems of survival and stress. The wilderness was the only place on Earth with zero interference. They had to physically isolate themselves to break down the beta wall in their own minds. They had to completely detach from the survival frequency of the world so their brains could naturally shift down into the deep, intuitive, miraculous frequency of theta and gamma. Being still was not a physical posture, it was a complete neurological shift. It was the absolute prerequisite to hearing the voice of the Creator. But here is the painful reality for you. You are a modern chosen one. You are living inside the most technologically advanced, highly engineered matrix in human history. You cannot simply walk away from your life, abandon your family, ignore your bills, and go sit in a desert cave for 40 days to reset your brain waves. You have responsibilities. You have a heavy load to carry. So how on earth are you supposed to break the beta wall? How can you possibly access the God frequency when your nervous system is constantly bombarded by the demands of this modern simulation? This is where profound ancient mysticism meets breakthrough modern science. And this is the secret the architects of the Matrix have tried to hide from you. For decades, space scientists have known about the immense power of your dormant brainwaves. NASA researchers conducted a highly classified study to understand the nature of human genius. They tested the creativity, intuition, and problem-solving abilities of young children, the ones who naturally operate in that divine theta state I told you about. The results were absolutely staggering. They found that 98% of these children scored at the level of creative genius. 98%. They were fully connected to the source. Their minds were open channels of infinite possibility. But then, the researchers tracked those exact same children and tested them again years later after they had been fully integrated into the matrix. After they had been processed through the modern education system, taught to stress about grades, trained to memorize instead of imagine, and conditioned to fear failure. By the time they reached adulthood, only 2% of them still retained that genius-level access. 2%. Your genius did not naturally fade away. It was systematically squeezed out of you by a society that needs compliant workers, not awakened creators. The Matrix intentionally dumped you into the beta survival frequency to cut you off from your power. But a brilliant former NASA neuroscientist made a discovery that provides the ultimate loophole. The theta and gamma frequencies inside your brain are not dead. They were never destroyed. They are simply dormant. They are sleeping beneath that heavy blanket of artificial beta waves. And you do not need 40 days of fasting in a literal wilderness to wake them up. Science has proven that the human brain will naturally synchronize its brain waves to specific external sound frequencies. It is a biological phenomenon known as brainwave entrainment. And now, there is a specific acoustic key designed to completely bypass the beta wall. It is an advanced sound technology, a 7-minute acoustic activation known as the Genius Wave. This is your modern wilderness. This is your technological shortcut to the God frequency. You do not have to struggle through hours of complex, frustrating meditation where you fight your own thoughts. You do not have to force your mind to be empty. You simply let the sound technology do the heavy lifting for you. By putting on your headphones and listening to this specific frequency for just 7 minutes a day, you are actively pulling your nervous system out of the survival matrix. You are washing away the artificial static and retuning your mind back to the exact frequency where divine downloads happen. You are restoring the spiritual antenna that the world tried to break. Now that you know about this 7-minute acoustic key, you hold the power to unlock the door. But opening the door is not enough. The matrix will immediately sense that you are breaking free. The moment you activate this higher state of consciousness, the system will initiate a counterattack to drag you back down. If you do not know the exact protection protocol immediately after you listen to this sound, your frequency will be stolen right back from you within 1 single hour. That is why you must master the frequency guard protocol. This is the exact framework to lock your mind into the God frequency so the matrix cannot drag you back into the chaos. The first anchor of this protocol happens the exact moment you finish your audio. Immediately after your 7-minute activation ritual with the genius wave, your brain will be heavily saturated in theta waves. I want you to mentally anticipate what this feels like. You will notice your breathing has naturally slowed down. The heavy, cement-like pressure behind your eyes will evaporate. You will feel your chest expand as a profound, unshakable stillness settles into your nervous system. In that exact moment, the matrix will launch its first counterattack. Your biological habit will urge you to immediately grab your phone and check your notifications. Do not do it. The second phase of the protocol is the 15-minute void. For exactly 15 minutes after your acoustic activation, you must violently protect your mental space from any digital garbage. No emails, no social media, no news. If you flood a newly opened theta mind with the panic and comparison of the matrix, you will instantly crash your nervous system back into beta survival mode. You must hold the void. Let the frequency stabilize in your biology. As you sit in that pure clarity, I want you to perform a powerful mental action. Visualize a thick, impenetrable shield of pure white light locking around your mind. Seal the frequency inside. Comment the words, "My shield is up," to decree your boundary to the universe. The third layer of the protocol is the pattern interrupt. Sometime around noon, the demands of the world will try to force their way back in. Your boss will demand something unreasonable. A financial anxiety will suddenly flash across your mind. You will feel that familiar static trying to creep back into your temples. When this happens, do not fight the thoughts. Fighting them only creates more beta stress. Instead, I want you to use your imagination to picture a heavy golden dial in the center of your mind. Mentally grab that dial and slowly turn the volume of the world all the way down to 0. Remind your spirit that you hold the acoustic key. You control the broadcast. The ancient kings operated strictly by this protocol. Look at the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23. King Solomon wrote, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." Modern religion has watered this down to mean you should just try to be a good person with nice feelings. But if you dive into the ancient Hebrew context, the word used for heart is leb. Leb does not mean the organ pumping blood in your chest, and it does not mean your romantic feelings. In ancient Eastern thought, the leb was the absolute command center of human existence. It was the mind, the will, and the core vibrational center of your being. Solomon was the wealthiest and wisest man on earth. He was not writing a soft greeting card. He was giving a harsh military directive. He was saying, guard your core frequency with lethal force, because the matrix is actively trying to infect it. If your vibrational center is breached, your entire reality flows into chaos. You must guard the theta state as if your life depends on it, because your divine destiny literally does. But now, I have to expose something that is going to make you very uncomfortable. As you begin to use this sound technology, and as you apply the guard protocol, the brain fog is going to lift. The divine downloads are going to start flooding in, and when they do, you are going to experience a strange, sudden knot twisting deep in your stomach. A wave of unexpected panic will wash over you, not because you are failing, but because everything is finally becoming perfectly clear. This is your shadow. This is the unconscious truth you have been hiding from yourself. You have spent years crying out to God, asking why you are so blocked, blaming the matrix and the enemy for your brain fog. But the brutal truth is, a deeply hidden part of you actually wanted the brain fog to stay. Because as long as you were trapped in the fog, you had an excuse. As long as you were exhausted, you did not have to take the terrifying leap of faith to start that business. You did not have to have that painful conversation to end that toxic relationship. You did not have to step onto the stage and be seen. The brain fog was your prison, but it was also your hiding place. When the theta frequency clears the static, there is nowhere left to hide. The clarity brings absolute responsibility. You realize that you actually possess the exact blueprint to change your bloodline forever, and that terrifies you. You are terrified of your own unblocked potential. You are deeply afraid of what will happen when you actually become the powerful, uncompromising force of nature that heaven designed you to be. You must forgive yourself for fearing your own light. You must mentally accept the weight of the crown that comes with this frequency. You are afraid of your own greatness. But do you know why the invisible enemy spent so much effort designing a beta wave prison specifically for you? The truth about your identity that is about to be revealed will send shivers down your spine. I want to tell you about someone who was exactly where you are right now. A fellow chosen one who had been trapped in a suffocating, heavy cloud of brain fog for 3 agonizing years. I want you to mentally transport yourself into their reality for a second. Picture them sitting alone in a quiet, dimly lit room, staring blankly at a wall. The silence in that room was not peaceful. It was heavy, toxic, and mocking. The enemy was right there, standing in the unseen realm, whispering directly into their raw, unfiltered thoughts. The voice was saying, "You are useless. You have already peaked. You are never going to achieve what you thought you would. Everyone else has figured life out, and you are just stuck here, broken and forgotten." And the most tragic part, they believed every single word of those lies because their brain was chemically locked in the beta survival state. Their bank account was draining faster than they could fill it. Their relationships were strained to the breaking point, and their spiritual antenna was completely snapped in half. But then, a massive shift happened. They stopped fighting the invisible ghosts and started fighting the frequency itself. They began using the 7-minute acoustic activation of the genius wave every single morning without fail. And they fiercely protected that theta state using the exact frequency guard protocol I just gave you. For the first 2 weeks, it was a brutal war. Their shadow self fought back. The panic of clarity set in. The Matrix threw every distraction at them to break their 15-minute void. But they held the line. They refused to surrender their mind. And on the 21st day, the cement in their mind completely cracked. The artificial matrix lost its grip entirely. While they were doing something completely ordinary, just standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes, the God frequency flooded their nervous system. A massive, undeniably divine download hit them like a lightning bolt. It was a business solution, a creative strategy so incredibly clear and so perfectly aligned that it completely turned their financial situation around in less than 3 months. They did not suddenly acquire new skills. They did not go back to school to get another degree. They did not hustle harder or burn themselves out. They simply tuned their neurological radio back to the exact frequency where the Creator was already broadcasting the answers. And this brings us to the ultimate revelation. This is where your true identity comes into the blazing light. This is the exact reason why the Matrix has targeted your mind so heavily since you were a child. You need to look at the profound ancient wisdom hidden in the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." If you look deeply into the original Greek text, the word used for conform is suschematizo. It is a terrifying, violent word. It literally means to be forced, crushed, and squeezed under immense pressure into a rigid, external mold. Paul was not talking about following fashion trends or listening to popular secular music. He was giving a severe, advanced neurological warning to the chosen ones. He was saying, do not allow the matrix to crush your divine, limitless brain waves into its low vibration, high-stress survival mode. But why? Why does the world system want to crush you into that Sushamatitso mold? Because of what happens when you finally break out of it. Listen to me very carefully, and let this truth sink deep into your bones. The enemy did not build the beta wave prison to punish you. The enemy built the beta wave prison because they are absolutely terrified of you. You have spent your entire life thinking you are a helpless victim of these spiritual attacks. You thought you were weak because the brain fog was so incredibly heavy. You thought God was testing your endurance. But you are not a victim. You are a system buster. You are a divine glitch in the matrix. When your brain shifts out of survival mode and locks into the theta and gamma frequencies, you are no longer just receiving helpful downloads for your own life. Your actual, physical, electromagnetic signature changes. The vibration of your heart and mind becomes so overwhelmingly powerful that it physically alters the atmosphere of any room you walk into. When you operate in the God frequency, you become a walking, breathing disruption to the kingdom of darkness. You literally cancel out the low vibration frequencies of fear, lack, disease, and confusion around you just by existing in that space. And it goes even deeper and further than your own lifetime. When you commit to maintaining this high frequency, you are doing something profoundly miraculous for your entire bloodline. For generations, your family has been trapped in a vicious cycle. Poverty, depression, addiction, and spiritual blindness have run through your family tree like a poison. Your ancestors were crushed by the Suskamatizo, the heavy mold of the matrix. But when you actively use this sound technology, when you allow the genius wave to reactivate your dormant potential and bypass the beta wall, you are not just improving your own daily focus, you are actively rewriting the spiritual and genetic code of your entire family line. You are the one heaven specifically chose to break the generational curse. That is the immense, terrifying power of your bloodline when it is finally operating on the correct frequency. Take a moment right now and mentally command your bloodline to awaken. You do not need to speak out loud or move your body. Just close your eyes for a brief second and visualize a brilliant, blinding, golden shockwave starting in the center of your mind. Watch it travel down through your spine, down into your roots, and backward through time, shattering every single generational chain of anxiety, poverty, and failure that has held your family hostage. Comment the words, "I break the mold," to permanently register this massive frequency shift in the physical realm. The unseen entities are panicking right now. They are watching you realize your true power. They are watching the system buster finally figure out how to use their ultimate weapon. But you must be warned. A wounded, cornered animal is the most dangerous kind of enemy. The very moment the Matrix realizes that you have found the acoustic key and broken out of the beta prison, it will retaliate with vicious, calculated precision. They will immediately deploy 5 highly sophisticated frequency attacks to drag your mind back down into the fog. If you do not recognize attack number 1 by tomorrow morning, you will walk right into a trap that will steal your peace, hijack your frequency, and reset all of your progress back to zero. To understand exactly how they are going to attack you, you must first understand the nature of their weapons. Look at the pattern hidden in the ancient text of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. The Apostle Paul wrote, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." Look closely at the pattern of spiritual warfare throughout history. The walls of Jericho were not brought down by swords. They were brought down by a specific acoustic frequency, a unified shout. Gideon did not defeat the massive Midianite army with superior physical weapons. He defeated them with the sudden acoustic shock of breaking clay pitchers and blowing trumpets. The enemy knows this pattern intimately. They know that physical weapons cannot touch a chosen one. So they do not use swords, and they do not use pitchforks. They use invisible strongholds. A stronghold is simply a rigid, deeply ingrained neurological pattern. It is a frequency trap, and there are exactly 5 specific frequency traps the Matrix will use to drag your mind back into the beta survival state. The first form of attack is the false urgency trap. The moment you begin to elevate your frequency, the Matrix will suddenly inject a manufactured crisis into your life. You will receive an email from your boss saying, "I need this in 5 minutes. This is a disaster." Or you will get an unexpected bill in the mail. Or someone in your life will manufacture a sudden dramatic emergency. The voice of the enemy will scream in your mind, "You have to act right now. Hurry up. You are running out of time. Fix this immediately." Why do they do this? Because beta waves require speed and panic. Theta waves require stillness. If the enemy can make you rush, if they can make your heart pound and your breathing turn shallow, they successfully rip you out of the God frequency. They force you to make decisions out of pure fear. How do you recognize it? You will feel a sudden, sharp tightening in your chest and an overwhelming compulsion to react immediately. Here is how you defeat the false urgency trap. You do absolutely nothing. When the panic hits, you step back. Do not send the email. Do not make the phone call. Instead, you put on your headphones, you activate your 7-minute Genius Wave audio, and you sit in absolute stillness. You let the acoustic technology drag your nervous system back down into theta. And when the 7 minutes are up, you will look at that exact same problem and realize it was a complete illusion. The urgency was entirely fake. The theta state will reveal the lie, and you will handle the situation with terrifying, unshakable calm. The second frequency they will use against you is the comparison static. When the enemy sees that false urgency is not working, they will attack your sense of worth. They will use the glowing screens in your hands to flood your mind with curated, highly filtered illusions of other people. You will be scrolling, and suddenly the Matrix will whisper, "Look at them. They are married. They are rich. They already bought a house. What is wrong with you? You are falling behind. You have failed." Why is this their go-to weapon? Because comparison instantly produces shame, and shame is the absolute lowest vibrational frequency in the human body. Shame immediately blocks the creative centers of your brain. How do you recognize it? It is that sudden sinking feeling in your stomach after looking at social media. It is the sudden desire to hide from the world because you feel inadequate. I want you to perform a powerful mental action right now to defeat this. Close your eyes for just a second. Visualize a thick, heavy black cord plugged into the back of your neck. That cord is feeding you the toxic comparison static of the Matrix. Now, in your mind, I want you to reach back and violently rip that cord out. Watch the black static fade away. Comment the words, "I unplug from the illusion," to mentally sever that connection completely. The highlight reels of the Matrix are entirely fake. Your divine timeline is the only one that is real. You win this battle by refusing to measure your sacred journey against their artificial milestones. The third trap is the isolation pressure. This is not about physical isolation. The God frequency often requires physical solitude. No, this attack is about being surrounded by people who violently misunderstand you. As your frequency rises, the Matrix will use the people closest to you to try and pull you back down. Family members, old friends, or co-workers will suddenly start questioning your path. They will say things like, "You are being ridiculous. Stop dreaming so big. Be realistic. Come back down to earth. You are acting crazy." Why do they use the people you love? Because the enemy knows that human beings have a deep biological need to belong to a tribe. if they can make you feel like a total outcast, if they can make you doubt your own sanity, you will naturally shrink yourself. You will dim your own light and lower your frequency just to make the people around you feel comfortable again. How do you recognize it? It is that suffocating feeling of having to wear a mask in your own home. It is the exhaustion of having to explain your spiritual awakening to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. How do you win? You must embrace the separation. You must realize that their rejection is actually your divine protection. Heaven is creating a vibrational quarantine around you. Let them misunderstand you. You do not need their permission to operate in the frequency of miracles. That is only the first 3 traps: the false urgency, the comparison static, and the isolation pressure. But trap 4 and 5 are what take down 90% of chosen ones right at the threshold of glory. In fact, I know someone who almost lost absolutely everything last week because of the 4th attack. The 4th attack is the counterfeit blessing. This is by far the most deceptive weapon in the entire arsenal of the Matrix. The enemy has been studying your prayers. They know exactly how desperately you want financial freedom, or a loyal partner, or a massive career breakthrough. So, right as your frequency begins to rise, they will send you something that looks exactly like the answer to your prayers. But it is a Trojan horse. It is a highly toxic situation wrapped in beautiful packaging, designed to completely derail your divine timeline and lock you into a lifetime of beta wave stress. Just last week, a fellow chosen one was sitting in a high-rise corporate office facing this exact trap. They had been offered a massive business partnership. On paper, it looked like the ultimate breakthrough. It looked like the millions they had been manifesting. They were sitting at a cold glass conference table, holding a heavy metal pen, hovering it just an inch above the signature line of the contract. The pressure in the room was intense. The people across the table were smiling, urging them to sign, saying this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But something felt violently wrong in their physical body. The back of their neck was sweating. Their chest was tight. Their breathing was incredibly shallow. The Matrix was screaming in their mind, "Just sign it. Do not miss this. You will never get another chance." But because they had been diligently practicing the frequency guard protocol, they recognized the false urgency mixed with the counterfeit blessing. They put the pen down. They excused themselves and walked into the restroom. They locked the door, pulled out their headphones, and played their 7-minute Genius Wave audio. They forced their panicked nervous system out of the beta survival state and back down into the God frequency of theta. In minute number 4 of that audio, the heavy fog in their mind completely evaporated. A sudden crystal-clear realization hit them like a physical blow to the chest. The intuition downloaded a single, undeniable truth. This is a trap. They are hiding something. They took a deep breath, walked back into the boardroom, looked the executives in the eye, and said no. 2 days later, the truth came out. That company was secretly drowning in massive legal debt, and the contract was designed to completely absorb the chosen one's personal assets to pay for it. The acoustic activation did not just calm their anxiety, it literally saved their entire financial future. The 5th and final attack is the phantom fatigue. This happens when you have successfully dodged the other 4 traps and you are literally inches away from stepping into your promised land. Suddenly, a crushing, unexplainable weight drops onto your physical body. You sleep for 9 hours, but you wake up feeling like you were hit by a truck. Your limbs feel like lead. Your mind goes completely blank. You have no motivation to pray, no motivation to create, and no desire to fulfill your purpose. You think you are just burned out. You are not. This is a targeted frequency of apathy sent by the Matrix to make you sleep through the premiere of your own documentary. They want you too tired to claim your reward. I want you to perform a mental action right now to break this heavy phantom fatigue. Close your eyes for just a moment. Visualize a brilliant, crackling spark of blue electricity starting at the base of your spine. Using your mental focus, command that spark to shoot straight up into your brain, instantly incinerating the heavy, dark fog of apathy. Feel the sudden rush of heat and alertness flooding your mind. Comment the words, "I claim my strength," to physically anchor this neurological awakening. You will not sleep through your season of victory. This entire war comes down to how fiercely you protect your frequency. The Apostle Paul knew this intimately when he wrote Ephesians chapter 6, describing the armor of God. He wrote, "Take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one." For centuries, we have pictured a man in ancient armor fighting invisible demons. But you have to look at the context. Paul wrote those words while he was chained to a heavily armored Roman guard in a damp prison cell. He was looking at Roman military strategy and translating it into spiritual physics. A Roman shield was not just a piece of metal. Before a major battle, soldiers would soak their heavy leather shields in water for hours. They did this so that when the enemy fired arrows wrapped in burning pitch, the wet shield would instantly extinguish the flames on impact. The flaming arrows are the sudden fiery bursts of beta wave panic, anxiety, and counterfeit urges that the Matrix shoots into your mind every single day. If your mind is dry, if you are exhausted and unprotected, those arrows will set your entire nervous system on fire with stress. But your faith, your deeply anchored theta frequency, is the water. When you use your daily sound technology to saturate your brain in the God frequency, you are soaking your shield. When the Matrix fires an arrow of financial panic or comparison static at you, it hits that high vibration theta shield and the fire is instantly put out. It cannot consume you. You cannot be burned by the chaos of the world when your mind is saturated in the stillness of heaven. You have the map. You have the acoustic activation technology. You know the exact tricks of the enemy. Now, the theoretical learning is over. This is the moment you are commissioned. Do not take your eyes off this screen. Clear your mind entirely, because the sealing ritual begins right now. Chosen one, wherever you are right now, I need your absolute, undivided mental focus. Do not look away. Do not let your mind wander to the stresses of tomorrow. You do not need to stand up, you do not need to change your physical posture, and you do not need to move a single muscle. I just want you to vividly imagine placing your right hand over the center of your chest, right over your heart, the absolute vibrational command center of your existence. This is not a traditional bedtime prayer. This is a high-frequency activation ceremony. We are officially closing the chapter of your suffering. The documentary of your unseen tears, the scenes where you were crying in the parking lot, the moments you were staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning feeling utterly abandoned. That production is completely over. The divine director has officially called cut on your season of pain, and the premiere of your glory is beginning right now. Father, Creator, Lord of all frequencies and dimensions, in the powerful, unbreakable name of Yeshua, I declare that the atmosphere around the person hearing my voice is radically shifting at this exact millisecond. I decree that their mind is now a zero interference zone. You have seen every single tear they swallowed when they had to be the strong pillar for everyone else. You have watched the documentary of their silent, exhausting battles every single morning. You have seen the heavy, suffocating brain fog that the Matrix used to steal their brightest ideas and paralyze their divine intuition. You have seen them question their own sanity, wondering if they were going crazy because the artificial static was so incredibly loud. We acknowledge the massive, unfair weight they have carried for years. We honor their silent endurance. But today, the era of the victim is permanently over. Today, the system buster awakens. I seal the frequency guard protocol into their daily routine right now. I completely seal their neurological pathways against the sophisticated attacks of the Matrix. I permanently bind the false urgency trap, and I command their nervous system to remain completely still when the world panics. I completely shatter the comparison static. Their eyes are now blind to the highlight reels of the illusion. I cancel the isolation pressure and surround them with a vibrational quarantine of divine protection. I expose, dismantle, and destroy every counterfeit blessing sent to derail their sacred timeline. And I completely incinerate the heavy, dark cloud of phantom fatigue. I decree that the beta wave prison that has held their mind hostage is completely broken. The heavy, rigid mold of the world is shattered into dust. I boldly declare that as you explore this sound technology, as you actively use the 7-minute acoustic activation of the genius wave to tune your brain back to its divine theta state every single morning, profound clarity will strike you like a lightning bolt. I declare that as you bypass the matrix and connect to the God frequency, you are actively rewriting the genetic and spiritual code of your entire bloodline. You are breaking the generational curses of poverty, anxiety, and mediocrity right now. Within the next 21 days, doors that have been supernaturally bolted shut will blow wide open because your vibration has completely shifted. The wealth, the clarity, and the massive purpose heaven promised you are rushing into your physical reality at this exact moment. Will you guard this frequency? Will you fiercely protect the absolute stillness of your mind and refuse to let the world dictate your brainwaves ever again? I need you to make a silent, powerful decree in your spirit right now. Let this ring out through the spiritual realm. Mentally shout the words, "I am the system buster." Heaven has recorded your vibration. The unseen entities are retreating in absolute terror because you finally know how to use your ultimate weapon. You are no longer bound by the chaotic static of the simulation. You are the director of your new, anointed timeline. Go now, tune in, walk in absolute, terrifying clarity. And as we seal this massive activation in the mighty name of Yeshua, do not say Amen yet. Sit in this clear silence for 30 seconds. Feel the fog lifting.